can see that you don't know a moment in a particular moment it can go to fatality also. So it starts basically from the at-risk behavior. So it's a behavior of person. You have seen here in this case choke. So in that same incident it was near miss which was not reported, though the risk assessment was done. He was told not to engage in mobile, but he violated those, and then it could have been reportable, but ultimately what has happened that it's very pathetic, it was a fatal accident. So again it comes to the changing of nature of this risk behavior. So we need to change the people's behavior and attitude, because at risk behavior starts the problems, and from there it comes to near misses, and then the first aid cases are there, and serious things can may also happen. And as I told before that near miss reporting is must, because these are the proactive indicators. We should know where these near misses can be converted into more serious accidents, so that proactively if we take care of the near misses, we take proactive actions, we discuss with people, probably that is the best way you can prevent accidents. Now, I will talk on risk management, because we have just talked about. Sorry. So I will talk about risk management. So we have just talked about the safety and health part, and we have seen the classification of accidents, okay, and how costly it can be. So when we talk about risk management, as you all know, every risk, every job is performed safe when the hazardous part of the job is taken care. Now, as I told, hazard is there in all the jobs, but we need to, put it in the acceptable level of risk so that people can work comfortably. So, whenever people are exposed to hazard, there is a risk, but we need to know what is the risk level and what are the remedial actions so that we can mitigate the risk. So, hazards are unavoidable, and presently in virtual every situation, as I told, hazards are there. So we need to ensure that all hazards we have identified and ensure that we have brought it to the acceptable order, so that we can process with the task. So that every task which is hazardous, we have to see what is the risk related to the hazard, and we want to eliminate those risks and take it to a acceptable level where people can work safely. Now, when I talk about acceptable level, that may be different, people may think differently as per their perception. So acceptable level is basically as per our experience, as per the guidelines, local laws, as per the standards and advisories, people can work safely in that particular level of risk. So that is basically the acceptable level. So here you can see we have shown typical safety hazards. So these type of hazards, because sometimes what happens, we cannot find out the hazards itself and we directly go for the risk assessment. So it is very, very important that we list out all the hazards. So hazard inventory is the first step of risk management. So this housekeeping is a hazard. You can see the materials are lying here and there. Then insecure gas cylinder. You have seen this gas cylinder, oxygen and TA, they are put together in a safe binding wire or this safety ribbon, which they should be put more securely and probably in some trolley or in a proper state, which they have not done. So this is also a hazard. And this is a trip and fall hazard, where there is a manhole hazard is there. So people may not see this opening and they may drop inside. So this is also a big hazard we have to find out in our workplace. And guarding steel poses a big hazard in all the industries. So we have to see that all the rotating parts in the machineries are properly guarded. Sometimes what we do, we basically don't put the guard, we put some signages. But again, when we talk about HOC signages, will definitely, not mitigate the hazard. Still, people can be accessible to those hazards which are very serious in nature when I am talking about rotating parts of machination. Now, sometimes what happens, other than safety, we don't check the health hazards as well in the workplace. So in one day, it's a health and safety, so definitely health is also part of the hazards. And in our industry, cement bags, yes, it poses a dust hazard which we need to identify. There are chemical hazards in the quality labs. So you can also see in your workplaces this type of where this type of hazards are there, and we need to make the inventory of the hazards. Then ergonomic hazards. Probably the doctor will be talking more on this. So it's basically the postures and all which give you strain, and that is also a health hazard. And biological hazard, you can see the hygiene of the toilets. So that also creates biological hazard. From this, people can develop many diseases. So the key definition probably I have already discussed. The hazard is anything which has a potential to cause harm, and risk is the chance of potential harm and also the severity. So risk is basically the potential, means how many times it can happen, and also how severe it may be, that when we talk about risk. An acceptable level, as I told, when a risk has been reduced to a level which complies with the local regulations and obligations. And the total thing from hazard identification, analyzing the risk, assessing the risk, and taking the corrective actions, everything is coming under the risk management. So if you see this, you will come to know that probability of occurrence and severity has been shown. So these boxes are basically, you can say, the task or the activities. So our job is to assess the risk and bring it to this acceptable level, which is very low risk level, so that people can work comfortably, and which also complies with the local regulations and standards and advisories. Definitely in rail you will have some standards and advisories and SOPs, and all organizations are having. So these also will help to see that we are within the acceptable level or not. So as I told, the risk management process model starts with identifying of the hazard, then analyze the risk, which is qualitative rating, then the assess of the risk, and then controlling the risk. So identifying hazards you can do by the surveys. So with the experience and survey to the work site, you can list out whatever the hazards are there in the particular workplace. So even some incidents happen, the near misses, unsuspect, unsafe conditions, also give you an insight to list out all the hazards. Then you can categorize the hazards, who can be exposed to them, and how they could be harmed. So that also can be done when we list out all the hazards in the workplaces. But this is the first thing we have to do in risk assessment, so that all the hazards are captured when we do for the risk assessment. Now analyze the risk. So the goal is to have an overview of the main risk through all sources of information. So sources or informations are basically analysis of accidents, fatal, lost time and serious accidents, visual field leadership. So I will just put something on this. When I say it's VFL, visual field leadership, it is kind of a introduction session. Generally in our organization, how we do this VFL, the ExCom member or the executive committee members who are on the board and the Apex committee, so they need to do the inspection of the work site. And this is not a audit or inspection. It is basically interacting with the people to know their concern in safety. And they does that and they talk to the people in a nice way and see what are the hazards this guy is exposed to, and address that in a very calm and proactive manner. And after that, there is a VFL database where he puts all his entries, the good practices as well as the concern, so that wherever the concerns are there, the corrective actions can be taken afterwards. So this thing I feel is a good practice. Probably in some organization it is there, but don't confuse it to audits and inspection. It is basically a interactive sessions where the executive members or even the plant managers or even the workshop in charges, head of the departments can talk to the people and get their feedback if they are okay with safety or some hazards really are there. Then safety conversation is also kind of thing, but it is more of one-to-one conversation. You know, in a group, generally we have seen that people does not come out with this concern. Okay, so it's always better if we can take some time out and talk to the persons one-to-one. That means you are there and that person is there, and then you can ask about the safety objectives of the person and if he has some concerns. So there also you can get some observation and some information about the hazards related to those works, and the worker is exposed to what type of hazards. So this is also very important when we are analyzing the risk. Then definitely the audits and gap analysis we can do as per our standards and advisories. So gap analysis is basically you have your standard operating procedures, you have your standards and advisories, and where you stand now. So where the existing workplace stands. So you can have a gap analysis to these standards and see where you stand now and what are the gaps, and about that what are the corrective actions you are going to take. So that you should be clear that how you improve on that. Coming to the assessing of risk, it's a severity versus probability rating. So risk rating provides managers with objective guidance so that right decisions can be made. Because in workplaces there will be many risks. So we don't know what are the most high risk areas. So these risk assessment need to be done where you can identify the high risk and moderate risk, and also the low risk, probably where people can work and which comes under acceptable risk zone. So after you chalk out the high risk in your business or high and moderate risk in your business, then it's time to take corrective actions. The way to take corrective actions is the hierarchy of control. Now we know what we do generally. Whenever people comes with a risk, we first of all say what are the PPE we can give there. So generally we take the simplest way, but which is in this order is the last order of preference. Because we thought that the low hanging fruit will be very easier to do. Whenever somebody says it's a risk and you after the risk analysis finds that yes, it poses a high risk, we probably think that okay, let us see how by administrative and personal protective equipment we can control this. But gentlemen, these are only low preference risks, and these are the most less effective control measures to adopt on. So that is very important. Again, the question comes here, we are talking about health and safety, then why we are not wearing helmet over here? We should wear safety helmets. So again, the answer is here itself, we have the order of preference, engineering comes first. So we have taken engineering method, you have the design building, you have the pillars over there, so that personal protective equipment we don't require. If you take a proper preference and increased, in the hierarchy of control, the measure, definitely you probably can, you don't have to restore on the least effective measures. So gentlemen, my request is that whenever you are doing the corrective action as per the hierarchy of control, please see from the top. Okay, we will be discussing one by one quickly so that you can understand. Before that, probably I will give a simple example to know how we do it, how we eliminate, substitute and isolate the things. So let us take a small example of this. So please remember, we start with elimination, then substitution, then isolation, then engineering, then administrative and PP, right? Don't start from PP, please. Okay. Let us see a small example. So there is a, we are very close to Sundarban in any way, and there is a sign that danger tiger ahead. So, when we have told that yes, tiger is a hazard, tiger can injure persons. So it's a hazard, and when there is a hazard, we need to do the risk assessment, right? And we need to take the hierarchy of controls. Let us see how this guy can take those measures probably. So hazard identification, as you know, as I told, there is a potential to have the harm and injury. So example, slippery floor, okay, definitely is a hazard, and which may cause slip and fall injury. So the hazard is identified. Where is the hazard here? Gentlemen, where is the hazard? Tiger is a hazard, right? Okay. Now this guy, let us say Mr. X, is close to the hazard. So who is at risk? Mr. X is at risk, right? So there is a hazard and people are accessing the hazard. So definitely there is a risk for this guy, right? So now what he has to do? Pardon? He has to do the risk assessment and he has to follow the HOC of control so that he can eliminate the hazard or he can reduce it to the acceptable level. So now they have to do the risk assessment. As I told, risk is the combination of probability and severity. But the thing is that you cannot do the risk assessment when the hazard in your front. Probably you have to do it much back, right? So you have to prepare yourself with the risk assessment before you face the hazard. So now let us see how Mr. X applies HOC in this case. It's a simple case, but the similar thing we can adopt for our workplace as well. So first we have talked about elimination, right? So elimination means you eliminate the hazard. So when you eliminate the hazard altogether, there is no risk, right? So if you eliminate the hazard altogether, but sometimes you can do that, but many times you have to have the other ways of controlling. So first to try to eliminate the hazard and therefore the risk together. Sometimes we want to work in the top. There is a maintenance job in the top. Or even in our cases, probably we are working, we have silos in the plants. Sometimes we need to paint those silos when it goes from one plant to another. So what we generally do, we ask them to paint it in the ground itself and take it up so that the work and height hazard does not exist, so that we eliminate the hazard altogether. So if you plan those things in ground, you eliminate basically the WH, which we say working at height hazard. So gentlemen, whenever you come across, you have to first see if we can eliminate the hazard altogether. So here Mr. X is trying to eliminate the tiger by shooting him down. So second thing is, gentlemen, is what after elimination? Pardon? Substitution. So you need to substitute. Thing is that when there is a hazard and you cannot control it, so you will try to change it to a less potential hazard which probably you can control. Okay, so sometimes in chemical industry you change the chemical, purpose remains same so that you can control the hazards associated with that. In this case, we have a hazard which is a tiger. So we need to change it to some less hazardous substance. So here, probably Mr. X has tried it magical skill and change it to a cat, which probably he can take control of. So substitute with less dangerous material. So definitely this is also a very good example that whenever in chemical things you have hazardous items, you need to see what are the less hazardous items available which serve the same purpose, so that you can reduce the hazards altogether. Because we are not magician, we cannot change this. Right. Third is isolation. Right. So isolation means basically you are putting a barrier between the hazard and the persons who are at risk. Probably Nirupam has talked about energy isolations, which is very, very important because energies are very hazardous and you need to isolate it, right? And proper isolation is definitely very important because sometimes we isolate but we don't know it's proper or not. And energies definitely can kill people. I don't know if there is a repairing in my house of the ceiling fan, somebody comes and repair, how to take control of that hazards? How we do that? So probably the electrician will switch off the power source and do that. But is it safe? Because when we talk about hazards and energy related to hazard or the hazardous energy, there should not be any by chance. You cannot say by chance. So if there should not be any by chance. So suppose somebody has come to repair my fan in my home and he switch off and does that, but there is a by chance element is there because somebody can switch on, right? So in case of isolation, we have to see that there is a no chance and the by chance case is not there. So probably we need to remove the switch, or we need to remove the fuse, okay, and probably give it to that person itself who is doing that, so that when when his job is over, he can return back the switch. In our plants, what we do is called low-to-toe, lock out, tack out, and try out. We basically do the same thing. The persons who are exposed to the hazard, they take the keys along with them, they goes to the spot, they do the work, and physically comes back, and then the locks are opened, so that we are 100% sure that the hazards are isolated, the hazardous energy is not there. Then definitely coming to the engineering control, to when you fail to eliminate and substitute the hazard, the best course is to put a guard. Like in the conveyors we put guards. I am talking about close guarding, because we have experienced, a bad experience rather, for distance guarding. We thought whenever the guard is not close, means close to the conveyor, where people cannot put their fingers inside the rotating parts, that is called close guarding. We put distance guarding so that we obstruct people to going to the conveyor. But we have suffered a bad experience when the gate, which was locked, so that people cannot enter the hazardous area, the opening of the conveyor, somebody jumped on that and went inside to see something and put his hand over the conveyor and had his hand chopped off. So I will request, in rotating equipments, please go for close guarding. And that is definitely a engineering control as well. Then definitely it comes to administrative control. Though in the hierarchy level the preference is low, but still these are very important controls when we talk about administration. Like signboards, like working hours, like job rotations, these things are very important when we talk about admin control. Then definitely the PPE, which we say as personal protective equipment. In our organization, 4 mandatory PPEs we generally use. That is, one is helmet, one is goggles, one is reflective jacket, and one is safety shoe. Because it's a traffic zone, and reflective jacket is very useful to have so that people can visualize a person wherever the light is less and in dark areas. So those 4 are mandatory PPEs, and there are some task-based PPE, like in the cement go down they need to put the dust mask as per the dust level, and also in high noise zone they need to put the ear muff and ear plugs. So PPE is also important, but again we should not think PPE first and rather ignore the other control measures. So now you can tell, if all these HOC, so hierarchy of control, this is the last level. If still we fail, what we should do? Suppose there is a job, you have tried to eliminate, you have tried to substitute, you have tried to isolate, you have tried to do the engineering means, admin and PP, still you find the risk is not coming to the acceptable level, what we should do? Any idea, gentlemen? Shall we go ahead with the job?
Quit.
We should quit. So we should quit and probably go to the experts to have some recommendation to know that how we can bring it to the acceptable level. True? So let us see here what Mr. X does. So basically what Nirupam tells, he does the same thing. He runs away to come back. Probably he will come back with the expert advice so that he can control the hazard. Now, I was talking about something about risk assessment. Now, risk assessment, when we talk about risk assessment to the shop floor guys, they feel it is a big thing and it requires much time. So sometimes they do the small jobs, what they feel are less risk, and they land out with some incidents. So we have devised one small form which we call as 1-minute risk assessment. So we tell that this risk assessment people can do in probably 1 minute. So in this you can see that the hazards are listed out for their benefit here, so that people can easily know what are the hazards. So these are the main hazards in the plant. So we have listed out, and we have put some color, green, amber, here it is coming as white and red, but it is basically amber color, so that people also, the risk associated with the hazards are mentioned. So green is the low risk, amber is the medium risk, and red is the high risk. So it's already there. Okay. Now, the thing what they need to do is fill up for the task he is going to do this. So he need to put this task over here and write the safe working practices he has received or not. If yes, he should go ahead and put those circles in this as per the hazards. So if there is a manual handling hazard, probably you will put a circle at 2. And you know, for every hazard there is a small instruction over here. Any green hazard, continue, take one and require PP. That means you can start, you can do with the require PP if the SOP is there, and you take one by one. So see that for each hazard your PP and your safe working procedure is available. And for amber one, you should continue only if you are competent and authorized. So in amber one, there are electricity, there are lighting, there are pressurized system. So this is the amber one. And the red one, these are definitely the more hazardous. Definitely the confined spaces what Nirupama has told. Yes, it is the most hazardous, and that time definitely they have to stop and seek guidance. They cannot go ahead. And these small thing they can do probably in 1 minute. That's why it is called 1 minute risk assessment. And we got very good results with this. People know what is risk assessment and how to do that, and each job people can do this simply. We have converted it in Hindi also and local languages also, so that they can do it easily and they can stop wherever they need guidance, mainly in case of the high risk activities. I can just show you a simple sample of this. So it's a job, cement feeding into the cement bag. Okay, inside the cement go down, you need to put the cement which goes with the other things and makes the concrete. So here, they have listed out 1 and 2, and they are mentioning the slip, trip and fall, and also the manual handling, because cement bags need to be sometimes handled manually. So there itself, they have identified those, and then for 10, 12 and 13, the task is there again, inadequate lighting, probably in that cement go down, lighting was not proper. All these things are done within few minutes, and people can know he can proceed with the job or not. And the recommendation, safety shoes, workman training, ear plugs, ear mug, everything they can write and they can close it off. And basically it has to be done by the supervisor along with the workers. And it's very simple to do. And as we told, if it comes under high risk, definitely has to stop and come back to the in charge, probably the P&M guy or the plant in charge itself. So my request is that if you feel it's a good practice, people can practice the risk assessment easily with less time, and the things are listed out for their own benefit. You can please proceed with that. Talking about the health strategy, in health also the risk assessment plays a vital role. So prevention, reintegration and promotion, what we say about health strategies. So in prevention, again the risk assessment, and reintegration is basically putting the first aids and see that the person can quickly come to the work so that we care for the person. And promotion is basically the day-to-day, lifestyle behaviors and communication. We put some journals or health initiative so that the promotion can take place. All the slides are there with you in the CDs. That's why I'm not going deep into that. But my aim is that again in health also we need to do the health risk assessment. I know recently some doctors from foreign countries came and seen our plants, and they were basically interested about the hygienes of the toilets where the workmen use those. So and the labor restrooms. Before they go inside the plant, they are interested on those things. So again, in case of health hazard like noise also, you can put all the steps. Don't feel that we can put these things HOC only for the safety hazards. So for health hazards also, you can replace equipment if it is a noise hazard. You can control noise with the enclosures. You can reduce the height drop so that the noise level reduces. And the training, worker rotations from a high noise zone to a low noise zone, ear mark, ear plug, those also can be given. So please note that in health also we can use the HOC and risk assessment as well. So in summary, we have talked about hazard, risk and risk management, proper order and effective implementation that is also required, and we should include the health risk as well, which definitely I feel is a challenge for everybody. But always we go for safety and the health risk exists. And 1 minute risk assessment I feel you can take up because it's very useful. Only thing is that you have to make it customized as per your workplace so that the hazards are according to your workplace and people can find it out. A small program on that is very useful for us to do. So I feel in the MAS 2 definitely we need to do the hazard identification in all workplaces and risk analysis definitely as per your own standard, because we do it generally 5x4 matrix, but again it's up to you how you do that as per your requirement, and apply HOC in order and effectiveness. That is the thing. We don't apply HOC in the order and effectiveness. We feel of something and try to make it in administrative or PP, but the hazard still exists and the risk does not come in the acceptable level. And definitely include health risk assessment, I feel is must to do, and it's high time to do when we talk about the health hazards of the workers. I feel nice to do is definitely 1 minute risk assessment and reporting of near misses also, so that proactively we know where the hazards are and how we are taking care of those. Thank you very much. I close the session. If you have any questions, definitely end of the sessions we can discuss. And I do feel that